I don't know how long you've been following the Survival on Purpose channel here on YouTube, but if it's been a while, you might remember the old Schrade Saturdays we used to do here, where every Saturday I did a Schrade knife review. So many, in fact, that people thought I worked for Schrade. Many people did. And I didn't, but I did have a good relationship with the Taylor family, who owned Taylor Brands, who bought the intellectual property from the Imperial Schrade Corporation when they closed in 2004 and went bankrupt, I guess, because they couldn't make enough money making knives in the USA, I guess. I don't know what the deal was, but one of the comments I got about many of those videos was, hey, how come they're not made in the USA anymore? So that's a whole other story. Maybe we'll get into that in this video in just a minute. But I did find 3 classic little Schrade knives that I think were my daddy's that are made in the USA. So we're going to talk about why I'm not doing Schrade Saturdays anymore, and take a quick look at these 3 cool little made in the USA Schrade knives coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me for another Sharp Saturday video, which today I guess could legitimately be called a Schrade Saturday video, because we're going to take a look at these 3 little made in the USA Schrade Old Timer pocket knives, and talk briefly just to try to answer any questions you might have, because I've had several over the last few weeks about my relationship with Schrade knives and Taylor Brands and the whole deal. And I'll get through that pretty quickly, and we'll talk about these knives. But first, today's words of wisdom from the Bible. Today's wisdom is from Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 in the NLT version. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And big thank you to my friends at Hog Holsters for making today's videos possible. I've said it before, I went through a lot of different holsters trying to find the right one for concealed carry. When I found Hog, I stopped looking. Hog holsters are the most comfortable, most concealable holster I've ever used. And they're 100% made in the USA down to the very screws. And every single Hog holster is 100% painstakingly handcrafted to fit your specific pistol model. There's no universal fit or one-size-fits-all at Hog holsters. They are absolutely a perfect fit with a perfect built-in retention. And if you use the coupon code Survival on Purpose, you'll be glad you did. Hog Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. So thanks to John at Hog Holsters for sponsoring this video. Now, so we're going to talk briefly about Schrade and Taylor Brands and all this. Let me just give you the rundown. So I started this YouTube channel in 2013, and I was doing outdoor gear stuff, survival stuff. I was a Scoutmaster at the time, so I was doing a lot of Scoutmaster skills and stuff, and Boy Scout skills, outdoor stuff, and doing some knife reviews and whatnot. And you know, I'm trying to get this channel started, and I see all these other channels, and they're doing all these reviews, and people are sending them stuff. And so I was sending out emails to people about, hey man, you know, here's my channel, and I don't know, I had 100 subscribers, nothing major. I'd like to do, you know, review your knives, and they like, yeah, whatever, don't call us, we'll call you, right? So anyway, I won a knife in a Facebook giveaway from Schrade. So I was like, okay, cool. So they sent me this this email or whatever, saying, hey, you won, and we're going to send your knife, and we really appreciate it if you could like post some videos on social media or pictures or something on Facebook, letting us, you know, give us a little shout out. And I said, well, you know, I'll make a video about it on YouTube. And they said, really? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you let us send you this other knife? I think it was the SCHF 27. I'll put a link up here, and you can be the first person in the world to review it on YouTube. And I was like, what? Little old me? So they did, and I did, and we developed a relationship with the folks at Taylor Brands, and they're just really good people. They were knife people. They really were. They were interested in knives. They were excited about knives. It was really cool. And as it turns out, they had bought the intellectual property from the Schrade Imperial Company, the Imperial Schrade Corporation, when they went out of business in 2004. And so it was part of, I guess, part of their bankruptcy or whatever. They liquidated their holdings and liquidated their all their intellectual property. So Taylor Brands bought the designs. They didn't buy the factory or the equipment, but they bought all the designs and copyrights and patents and trademarks and all that stuff. So they started making knives, and they told me they tried originally to make them in the USA, and they just weren't able to be competitive. So they started making them in China, and I think they made some really, really good knives. China or not, they really made some good knives. They really cared about what they were doing, and I think overall they did a good job. And they were just really, really good people to work with. So, but all good things must come to an end. So I in about, let's say 2000, maybe 2020, 21, I don't know for sure, but Taylor Brands sold their company to a division of Smith & Wesson. I think it was Battenfield Technologies or something, and did a few videos for him here and there, but we didn't have the relationship was not there. The same relationship wasn't there anyway. So anyway, that being said, that's why you don't see Schrade Saturdays very much anymore on here. Don't see much Schrade at all on here anymore because they're not really making that many new designs. When Taylor Brand's on it, they were coming out with new designs every month. I mean, constantly introducing new designs all the time, and it's not really happening now. So anyway, that being said, I do have some Schrade knives. They're old timers made by the Imperial Schrade Corporation that were made in the USA, and they're pretty cool little knives. So I think instead of me continuing to ramble, hopefully that answered your questions about Schrade if you had them. Bring you down here to the old tabletop. We'll take a close look at some of these little classic knives, and most of these are still available, like on eBay or whatever, at a really good price. I mean, under $30 for most of them, made in the USA knives, just vintage knives. So I think that's pretty cool. They're not super high-end knives. They made so many of them, it's not like they're rare. So that being said, now let's get down to the tabletop. Okay, so here are the 3 US-made Schrade knives, old timers, that we're going to look at today. Like I say, I think these 2 here I inherited when my daddy passed, and this one I think I got from my granddaddy. Yep, I'm from Georgia. So let's take a look at them one at a time. This one is a 18 OT, old timer, Mighty Mite, and this one is a lock blade. And so, as you can see, it's pretty small. It has a 1 3/4 inch clip point blade, a 2 3/4 inch closed length, and a 4 3/4 inch open length. And saw cut Delrin handles, nickel silver bolsters, and a brass lock blade, which is kind of unusual on a little knife like this. I'll try to give you some close-ups of this one because it's actually in really good shape. This blade has been sharpened a little bit, but not to the point where I've seen some of the old ones where half the metal's gone. Just very, very well made little knife. It stood the test of time. I think this is 1095 steel. It looks like it's got some patina on it, but it's in really good shape. I just put a little oil on it, a drop of oil at both the hinges, and it works really well now. Just a very, very handy little knife to have that you can just keep in your watch pocket or whatever. But man, you know, this is the kind of knife that people carried when regular grown men and even boys carried a knife, because it's such a handy tool to have. So that's the 18 OT Mighty Mite lock blade. And like I said, I've seen these, I saw these on eBay for somewhere around $25 for a vintage one. So that's a pretty good price for a cool little knife like this, made in the USA. So that's really cool. That steel is so easy to sharpen. This is not, I don't think it's redneck sharp right now, but I haven't sharpened it either. Got a little bit there, but not much. So that's the 18 OT Mighty Mite. Moving along, this is the 104 OT, and this is a Minute Man, and it is a 2-blade model, like so, and it features a 1 3/4 inch clip point blade and a 1 inch pin style blade. Again, the closed length 2 3/4 inches, so pretty much the same. I don't think it's exactly the same handle shape, but they're pretty stinking close. They may have used the same stuff, but the same framework for it. If they did, that's smart. But it has an open length of 4 3/4 inches with 1 blade open. And again, saw cut Delrin handles, nickel silver bolster, brass liners, no lock blade on this one. I think this might be 1095 steel, but I'm not really sure because it doesn't look nearly as patinaed or rusted, and both blades are pretty shiny. So I checked and did some research, and they did use stainless on some of their knives, and prior to 1997 they used 440A on some knives, and then after 1998, beginning in 1998, they used 420HC stainless, high carbon stainless. So this might be a stainless blade. You know, I'm not a metallurgist, but I think there's a good chance of that, because if you look at if you compare the blades, compare that one to this one, you can see a distinct difference. And then finally, I've got this one. This one I think I got from my granddaddy, and this one has seen some abuse. So it has maybe a 3-inch clip blade on it, because the tip, as you can see, is broken off of this one, and also It has a maybe 1 3/8 spade blade because the tip is broken off of this one as well. And it's been broken for a while because that's kind of rounded there, so looks like it's been out for a while. It doesn't look like a really clean break right there. This one's a little sharper break, but that one's been used a lot after it was broken. And then it has an unbroken 1 3/4 inch sheepfoot blade. And I want to say this one is 1095 steel. It's got a pretty good patina on it. And it has a 3 1/4 inch closed length. You know, here's the handle, 3 1/4 inch. And a 5 3/4 inch about open length with the clip point, just from here to here. And again, I think it's 1095 steel. And that's, as far as I can tell, that's the steel that they used if it wasn't stainless. So, just to recap, this is a 340 OT. Some people called it a Stockman online. I didn't find that information in any research I did, except for, you know, it's just classic Stockman 3-blade design. This is the 104. I'm sorry, yeah, 104 OT, and this is the Minute Man, and this is the 18 OT, and this is the Mighty Mite. And again, all three of these, you can find them like on eBay for a pretty reasonable price if you want a really nice, classic, old school, American-made folding knife. Again, they're not super expensive because they made so many of these things over the years, but they are a true, tried and true classic design that absolutely will do that stuff that you need to do with a knife on an everyday basis. So, not tactical in any way, shape, or form, but just plain old useful.
When Chuck Norris was born, the only one that cried was the doctor. Never slapped Chuck Norris.
Alrighty, well, hopefully you've kind of enjoyed this little, hopefully concise little walk down memory lane and look at some of these really classic old school pocket knives made in the USA by Schrade Knives. And I really like these really cool little knives. I mean, that thing is so small, just fits right in your pocket. It's not gonna, you can put it in your shirt pocket. It's lightweight, doesn't cause you any problems, and yet it's extremely useful little tool to have with you. So, again, I found these priced on eBay at a really good price. So, I hope this video has been interesting, somewhat informative, and maybe even a little bit entertaining. I really sincerely appreciate you watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.